Previously in part 1, she never expected a thank you, but 10 years after giving her last meal to a starving stranger, Amarachi finds herself honored by billionaire Ikenna Obi at a glittering gala. Just as her world begins to shift, a furious woman storms in with a diamond ring and a truth that shatters everything. Now, part 2 begins, and the truth, it's messier than anyone imagined. Amarachi stared at the ring as if it had burned her. The box sat open on the table, its diamond glinting under the soft golden lights, like a secret finally exposed. Her hands trembled slightly at her sides, but she said nothing, not yet. Ikenna opened his mouth, words fumbling at the edge of his tongue, but before he could find them, the woman in the fiery red dress stepped forward. "I'm Adaora," she said, coldly, her voice too calm to be safe. "His fiancé. We've been planning a wedding for 6 months. The world tilted beneath Amarachi's feet. The room suddenly felt too small. Her ears rang. She blinked rapidly, trying to process what she was hearing. But the truth was too sharp, too raw. She looked at Ikenna, searching his face for any sign that this was a lie, a misunderstanding, anything. But he looked away. That was answer enough. Without a word, Amarachi stood, slow, deliberate. Her heels made no sound against the polished floor. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She simply walked past Ikenna, past Adaora, past the memory of that moment he knelt and told her she changed his life. Outside, camera flashes burst like tiny explosions. Reporters turned. Paparazzi lenses zoomed in. The red dress shimmered under the lights, but her vision blurred with tears. She didn't stop. The SUV door was open, held by a silent driver. She climbed in, heart racing, throat locked. As the door shut behind her, a sob slipped out, quiet, broken, and real. In all the years she had been forgotten, overlooked, and stepped over, nothing had ever hurt like this. And for the first time, Amarachi wished she had walked past him that day on the street. The hotel room was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your skin, forcing you to feel every emotion you tried to bury. Amarachi stumbled inside and shut the door behind her with a soft click. The silence swallowed her whole. Then it cracked. Tears came fast. She dropped to her knees beside the bed, her hands clutching the edge of the mattress as sobs racked her body. Every moment of the night played in her head like a cruel echo. Ikenna's trembling voice, the crowd's applause, Adaora's fury, the diamond ring, the silence that followed. Betrayal didn't always need words. It was loud enough on its own. After what felt like hours, she stood up slowly and walked to the mirror. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup smudged, the red dress clinging to her like it didn't belong. She slipped it off carefully, folding it with both reverence and resentment. She laid it on the bed like it was something sacred she no longer had the heart to touch. Then she moved to the window. Lagos sparkled beneath her. Cars honked in the distance. People were still living, still laughing, still moving forward like her world hadn't just come undone. Her fingers touched the glass, and then her mother's voice rose in her memory, soft but steady. "Not every shining thing brings peace, Amarachi." She closed her eyes. That voice, that wisdom, how had she forgotten it? No more questions, no more waiting. She turned from the window, grabbed her small purse, and began packing the few things she had. Every item folded carefully, every breath steadier than the last. She won't stay till morning, not here, not like this. Because sometimes, the brightest rooms still leave you feeling completely alone. Ikenna found Adaora in the marble-floored corridor, pacing like a storm, bottled in a designer's dress. The hallway lights caught the shimmer of her sequined gown, but her eyes were darker than ever, sharp, wounded, furious. "You embarrassed me," she hissed the moment she saw him. "In front of the whole country, for some street girl." He didn't flinch. "She's not a street girl," he said quietly. "Her name is Amarachi." Adaora scoffed. "Oh, so you are in love with her? Do you even know what this looks like? The great Ikenna Obi caught simping for some barefoot roadside seller. You're being scammed." "Stop." His voice was ice now. "You don't get to speak about her like that." She laughed bitterly. "I built this with you. you from scratch, and you throw it away for someone who gave you yams 10 years ago. His eyes flickered. That someone gave me life when no one else even looked at me. Adaora's lip curled. Then go back to your gutter love story. Ikenna said nothing. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the ring, and stared at it for a long, slow breath. Then, without ceremony, he tossed it into a nearby trash bin. The sound of it hitting the metal echoed down the corridor like finality. "We are done," he said. "You regret this," she spat. He shook his head. "I already regret not going back sooner." As she turned on her heel and disappeared into the lift, he leaned against the cold wall, breath shallow, memories rushing in like floodwater. That moment 10 years ago, the cracked streets, the heat, the scent of smoke, and a hand offering him food without a word. He had been a ghost then, fading, forgotten, and she had seen him from that day. No matter how far he rose, her memory clung to him like breath, unshakable, unyielding. She had fed him when the world turned away, and now he was determined to find a way back to her, not as a billionaire, but as the boy she saved. The sun hadn't fully risen when the driver knocked on Amarachi's hotel room door. No answer. He waited a few moments, then knocked again, louder. Still nothing. With a frown, he alerted the concierge. Moments later, they opened the door together, cautious. The room was eerily still. The red gown lay folded neatly on the bed, untouched since last night. Her suitcase was gone, her shoes were gone, her presents completely erased. The only thing left behind was a small envelope propped gently against the mirror. Inside it was the gala invitation and a single piece of paper. The driver's hands trembled as he unfolded it. Scrawled in delicate, unsteady handwriting were just a few words. "Thank you, but I was never meant for this world." When Ikenna read the notes, his knees buckled. For a long time, he just stood there, fingers clenching the paper, unable to breathe properly. Every sentence he had planned to say, every apology, every promise, it all meant nothing now. She was gone, and he didn't even get to tell her everything. Panic settled in like a disease. He called his head of security, find her, check every bus terminal, every airport, every street in Port Harcourt. He sent staff to local guest houses, hospitals, even churches, posted anonymous rewards. No name, no photo, just a quiet search for a girl who had once changed his life and now slipped through his fingers like mist. Days passed, nothing. It was like Amarachi had vanished into thin air, folding herself back into the shadows where he had first found her, where the world never looked twice. But Ikenna couldn't stop. He refused to, because somewhere out there, Amarachi was walking away again, this time not from hunger, but from heartbreak. And maybe she wasn't ready to be found. Amarachi stepped off the bus just as clouds began to roll over Port Harcourt's sky. The city hadn't changed. Muddy roads, noisy traders, the familiar scent of diesel and roasted corn. But something in her had. She walked the narrow path back to her old street, her small bag slung over one shoulder, her heart heavier than her feet. The neighbors noticed. They always did. Some watched from behind their doorways, whispering behind cupped palms. Others greeted her with forced smiles, eyes scanning her from head to toe as if trying to measure what she'd gained or lost. A few offered kind words, but even those were laced with curiosity. Had she been rejected? Did the rich man finally send her packing? The rumors were already blooming like weeds. Amarachi said little. Later that afternoon, she quietly visited the small church down the road and slipped the red gown into a donation basket at the back of the thrift hall. The sequence still caught the light, even in the dimness. She didn't look back. That night, she sat on the cracked concrete in front of her shack, right where her mother used to sit and pray. The spot was dusty, the air warm. She folded her hands silently, head bowed. She didn't ask for anything, just sat in the quiet, trying to feel peace. It didn't come. In the shadows, she wondered if she had left too soon or if she had just returned to disappear all over again. It had been a quiet, uneventful week since Amarachi returned, until the quiet shattered with the low purr of an engine outside her shack. A black luxury car, sleek and spotless, came to a halt on the uneven roadside. Curious neighbors peeked from doorways, children paused their games. Amarachi, seated just outside on a wooden stool, looked up wearily. The last time a car like that stopped here, her life had spun out of control. But this time, it wasn't Adaora. The car door opened and a woman stepped out, elegant, calm, confident. "I'm Nena," she said, approaching, Ikena's older sister. Amarachi blinked, caught off guard. Nena didn't barge in or bring a camera crew. She asked gently to sit, and when Amarachi nodded, she lowered herself onto the wooden stool beside her. For a moment, they just sat in silence. Two women from different worlds, joined by one man's history. "He searched for you for years, even before he had anything. That note you left him, he kept it. He still reads it." Amarachi's eyes shifted. "I thought he forgot." He never did. Then she reached into her handbag and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. It was smudged, creased at the edges, barely holding together. Amarachi's breath caught. She took it with trembling fingers, her own handwriting. "You saved my life. One day I will return." A message she had once left behind with faith and walked away from. Now, it had found its way back. Amarachi sat still, the old notes trembling in her fingers. The faded words stared back at her like ghosts of a time she'd buried. Her breath slowed, her eyes misted, but she didn't cry, not yet. Nena watched her gently, then spoke, voice low but certain. "He's not perfect, Amarachi. He's made mistakes, real ones, but he's never stopped needing you. Not for image, not for headlines, for healing." Amarachi didn't answer. She folded the note carefully and slipped it into the same purse she had once carried yams in. Simple, worn, but hers. That night, as dawn teased the sky, she walked to the old cemetery where her mother was buried, weeds creeping around the cement slab marked only with her name. She stood over the grave for a long while, the city murmuring in the background. She bent slightly and touched the cool stone. Her voice came out fragile. "Would you have told me to forgive him?" The wind whispered through the trees. She closed her eyes and waited for a sign, but there was none, just silence, heavy and honest. And yet, deep in her chest, something softened, not completely, not fully, but enough. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't for him, it was for her. As the sun rose behind her, casting her shadow across the cracked headstone, Amarachi straightened her shoulders. She wasn't going back for a fairy tale, not for romance. She was going back for herself. Because after all these years, she deserved answers and maybe a new beginning. The wind was softer in Lagos this time. Amarachi stepped out of the car, no longer the girl in a donated wrapper, no longer the woman running from pain. She wore a simple emerald green dress that caught the morning light, her hair tied back in a low puff, her eyes steady. No red carpet, no flashing cameras, just the open gates of the Ikena Obi Foundation and Ikena himself waiting at the steps. He looked older than she remembered, not in years, but in soul. He didn't rush toward her. He simply stood there, hope in his eyes, an apology in his silence. "I didn't come for love," she said as she reached him. "I know," he replied, voice thick. "I came for truth and peace." Then, "Let's start there," he said. They sat for hours. No stage, no spotlight, just two people peeling back the years, one memory at a time. He told her everything about the nights he searched for her, the guilt he carried, the battles he fought behind boardroom doors and closed hotel rooms. She listened, not out of pity, but out of something deeper, recognition. By sunset, something had shifted, not erased, not forgotten, but healed. Months passed. Amarachi didn't just accept a house, she chose a home. She didn't just join the foundation, she helped reimagine it, shaping it to serve women like her, the forgotten, the kind-hearted, the brave. On the day of the new center's opening, Ikena stood beside her, not as a billionaire, not as a man offering rescue, but as a partner, her equal. The crowd applauded, but Amarachi's eyes found the clouds, soft and glowing above, and for the first time in years, she felt full. She had once given her last meal to save a stranger. Now, her story had become a feast. Moral lesson: kindness doesn't always come back the way you expect. Sometimes, it returns as the life you were meant to live. What would you do if the person you once helped when you had nothing came back with everything you ever dreamt of? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Your support keeps these true-to-life stories alive.